This is Brandon Parker. Welcome to the Legends of Land show, where it's my job to deconstruct the tactics of elite land investors, how they think about their business and strategies that drive their success. My guest today is Mike Harri. He is the founder of leadbids.com, and Mike has a degree in finance from the Technical University of Michigan. He has a background in mortgage, drop shipping, is a serial entrepreneur, and now he has built lead-bids.com for us land investors. In this wide-ranging conversation, we talk about lead bids, the incentives around building a marketplace where us land investors can go find sellers and bid on those leads to close those deals for ourselves. We also talk about Mike's journey as an entrepreneur and some of the things he's learned along the way. Without further ado, please enjoy this wide-ranging conversation with Mike Harri. All right, Mr. Mike, great to see you again, man. Good to see you in Dallas, and welcome to the Legends Land Show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Brandon. It's great to be here doing my first land podcast with you.
Oh, we're gonna
It was
crush
great
it.
to meet you in Dallas and Vegas too.
Yep, in Vegas too. We're racing go-karts and we're crushing it lately with land investors, just having a good time for sure. We can talk a little bit about that, but let's kick off a little bit with your origin story, how you got into land investing, because you got a eclectic background.
Yeah. So before all this, I was in mortgages. I used to be a loan officer for Quicken Loans, now is Rocket Mortgage. And so I did that for 3 or 4 years, doing mostly purchase transactions, a little bit of refinances. And then after that, I was doing underwriting for auto loans. And while I was at that job, I realized I was not making enough money and started looking for some side hustles. I think before side hustles were widely called side hustles.
Mhm.
And I stumbled upon e-commerce and drop shipping and went down that rabbit hole and started doing the whole selling stuff with Facebook ads and fulfilling out of China and making a spread on the purchases that your cost of goods plus your cost to acquire the customer needs to be less than what people are paying you, and then you make money. So I started making some money doing that, and then I quit my job and went all in on the e-commerce side of things. And then very shortly after I quit my job to do that, Facebook banned my ad account. And so I went to making no money. And so I was looking into other ways, other products, other advertising channels. So then that was kind of what led me down to learning some other ad platforms like Google Ads. I did Pinterest ads as well. So I've been, for the past 5 or 6 years, I've been, I guess, sort of a serial entrepreneur with different products and offers in e-commerce, affiliate, lead generation, but pretty much everything with being fueled by paid ads.
Yeah, the paid ads game is just, I've tried to learn a bit of it. It's something that looks like you need to put 5 years into for sure. And it's always changing as well. So it's not like you can just learn it now you know it. So you've got to be in the weeds. What's your current take on paid ads? What's the place to go with paid ads if you were just trying to, let's say you're trying to dispo or I don't know, inland, how would you go with paid ads? Which platforms are best right now?
Yeah, I can't say that I've done everything in terms of paid ads for land. I've done quite a bit of platforms with different other offers, but with land specifically, what I have done is acquisitions, which right now for with LeadBid, all the acquisitions come through Google search ads. So those are specific to people who are searching terms related to selling their land. And then you're running a little text ad that shows up above the organic search results. So when somebody searches sell my land, you're one of those text ads at the top that says, hey, get a cash offer for your land. And so that's search ads. Now, beyond, so that's going to be the highest intent because that's actually somebody who's going in and searching for the actual term of selling their land. Beyond that, you're going to have more interruption type marketing, which would be like Facebook ads or YouTube ads or something where somebody's not at that moment actively like searching to say, I want to sell my land right now. But you get an ad in front of them that says, hey, do you have inherited land that you want to sell? Or hey, are you sick of paying taxes on your land? Get an offer for it. All right. So it's not something they were specifically looking for in that moment, but you can catch their attention with it. They might be interested, fill out your form, get a lead that way. I'm not doing any of that right now. First focus is expanding as much as possible with search ads since they're the highest intent, there's only so many people every day that are searching about selling their land. So there's a cap to how much you can scale that. And then beyond that, going to have to start looking into more interruption type marketing, like the Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, anything like that. So that would be for acquisitions. For dispositions, I've played around a bit with some Facebook ads, and I'm working on helping Anshul Sharma.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a big land wholesaling operation. I think he announced next year he's going for 10 million. He's crushing it in land, doing a lot of wholesaling, double closing. But I told him that I had played around a little bit with doing Facebook ads for disposition, and now I'm working on helping him set something up for that. I think that could be good with dispositions. Facebook ads may be better than acquisitions, but it's either way. You get out with Facebook ads, you're going to get less intent. And on the disposition side, you'll get a lot of people that are tire kickers in there and that sort of thing. So you're going to want to have a system for sorting through those and being able to filter out the ones that are qualified to be able to purchase. First of all, a lot of people are just curious and checking out land, even though they have no ability to buy it. The leads can be dirt cheap on Facebook leads on the disposition side. I was getting leads for $1 a lead on Facebook on the disposition side for messenger leads. So somebody who starts a messenger conversation on Facebook about it, and then you can chat back with them on Messenger. I think that could be good potentially on the disposition side. We haven't run it at much of a scale yet. I think it could be good, but you're just going to have a filtering machine. And he's got like a 40-man team or something like that. So he's got a big operation. He's got the capacity to be able to sift through all the junk to find the gold in there.
Mm-hmm. And how do you see that system sort through? You just see that as manual? So I'm interested in systems to sort, because that's what we do is we get a bunch of leads and we sort through them. Right now we're looking at conversational AI texting, AI ringless voicemail, and AI email, like all these responses to filter through stuff to get to something that's reasonable. How are you thinking about filtering through something like just a bunch of low intent dispo?
Yeah, so that's something I haven't gone too deep on because this really isn't my business model. I'm just working with on the side just to help him dispo and trying to scale that up. Because with a lot of the dispo, it's you're putting your property on the MLS. Maybe people are putting it on land.com or putting an organic Facebook marketplace post up. And with those, you're just dependent on whatever traffic comes to those sites, right? So the people that are already going to Zillow or realtor.com, or the people that are already going to land.com and looking for land in your area, or the people that are already browsing on Facebook Marketplace. But with ads, it gives you the ability to push it out in front of people that wouldn't have otherwise seen it. So it allows you to just force your way in front of a bunch more people rather than waiting for the people to come to you. Like with Anshul, he's got a big operation and they're doing lots of deals. And so he's trying to find ways to move property faster and more of it. So that's how I look at it, is it allows you to force your way in front of more people and get more eyeballs on your property. But you're going to have a filtering game to play then. And it's hard to say what exactly the best process is because, like I said, this isn't my business and we haven't done this at much of a scale yet. I've played around with it in my own land business a while back, and that was how I ended up talking to him about doing it. But there's kind of two ways I think you could do it. One, you could do a chatbot and leverage AI and automation, where you're taking them through some sort of qualification process through with an AI over text. I think the other way would be just get them on the phone.
Yeah. And it's easy to overthink those things. You can also just get people on the other end that just follow up all day and try to close deals that are incentivized by commission. It's like the oldest trick in the book. It totally works. So it's easy to be like, we need robots, but yeah, feel you. Hormozy says something interesting. He says, better, more new. And so that sounds like where you're at. You're already doing this pay-per-click with lead bid with your highest intent leads. And so you're just going to do that better for a while. And then you're going to do more of that. Once it taps out, you'll pivot to the next probably best thing. Once you get that part, the market tapped, 2 questions. How big do you think that market is of people, high intent people who are searching to purchase land every day? And then once you get that tapped, what's the next most logical place for you to go?
Yeah, good question. So that market, at first I thought it was smaller. Like when you're running Google Ads, you can run exact match keywords. So if I put an exact match keyword as sell my land, that means that only people who exactly search sell my land, you're going to show an ad for. Now, when I was first starting with Google Ads, I was running all exact match keywords. And so I was just adding more and more exact match keywords because there's so many different variations somebody could search. And that's the thing. I read somewhere that something like 30% of Google searches each day are all brand new terms that have never been searched. I'm making up that number off the top of my head, but it's something like that. There's so many new searches that happen every day because there's all these long tail variations. Because somebody could search sell my land, but they could search sell my land in Texas, or they could search how do I sell my land in Texas, or they could search how do I sell commercial land in Texas? Or there's just so many different variations of what somebody could be searching. To be able to capture all of those, what you eventually want to start doing is generally opening up your search terms to, rather than doing exact match, you do phrase match or broad match, which kind of gives Google a little more open reins to say, okay, this person didn't exactly search what you said, but the intent is the same. The goal, what they're looking for is the same. So by opening up, that opens up a lot more. You do have to be careful because Google sometimes likes to just blow your money on stuff that's irrelevant. Right now, I think that you could probably scale this up to, man, it's hard to say because what happens also is as you scale, your cost goes up. If you're bidding your cost per click, you're bidding against other advertisers in that auction. It's not linear where if I'm spending $100 a day and I want to get 5 times more leads, I just go to $500 a day. It rounds off where you scale up, but your cost per lead goes up as you scale up. So you don't get one-to-one returns when you scale up your ad spend like that. It's hard to say, but I think you could probably push it thousands of dollars a day in Google spend, but I'm not sure what the upper limit on it is. And also, it does seem like from what I've seen that the search volume is going up for keywords about selling land. So I think that it will go up over time, the ability to push and scale with Google Ads as that grows, which I'm guessing is fueled a lot by other marketing. All the mailers that guys are sending, all the texts, all the phone calls, some percent of those people one day are just going to, when they're ready to sell, go over to Google and search sell my land. So I think that a lot of that other marketing has fueled the push for the search volume.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. What do you think's driving that? There's this, people are getting marketed to. So they're like, oh, I could sell my land. And then obviously they're going to land on Google at some point. There's also a bit of a macro shift of people just doing more large transactions digitally. Like, oh, I'm going to buy a car online, like cars.com, like deliver it to my house. So I think that people are getting this idea of shifting assets just over the computer, which was insane 20 years ago. That would never happen. But now it's, oh, there's people who buy houses without, just buy house online type stuff. That shift is coming too. That's probably longer term, but I like thinking about that bigger picture stuff. So when you say thousands of dollars a day in search volume, what type of lead volume does that turn into? We talking like there's a few hundred people out there per day searching, or a few thousand people out there per day searching sell my land?
Searches, yes. What turns into leads is a lot less. For me, I have less than 20% conversion rate from click to lead. So the amount of people that are searching something about selling land, seeing my ad that says get a cash offer for your land, they click on it, they come to a landing page that says get a cash offer for your land, here's your form to fill out. Less than 1 in 5 people are actually filling out that form. So there's a big drop off between click to submitting a lead form. And now also those people, they might not like something about the site, they may bounce back and become a lead for somebody else. That's possible, where they click on the next ad down and then they fill out that form. I'm getting probably north of 50 clicks a day most days. And there's obviously other advertisers that are getting a fair share of clicks as well. So it's hard to say. When I had more specific exact match phrases, I was starting to push up on the impression share, where I'm taking more and more impression share of the available searches that are coming up. So each time somebody searches, there's a certain amount of advertisers that are going to show their ads for. And so the more that you scale up how much you're willing to pay per lead, how much you're willing to pay per click, Google's going to be more likely to put you in front of more people because they make more money then. I've scaled that up. I was starting to get more impression share. But then as the broad match has kicked in and it's starting to find more of these longer tail search terms to get in front of, my impression share actually went back down a bit. I think there's still a lot of scale to go, but what I'm not sure is how far I'm going to have to push like bids to be able to get in front of that and get more impression share. Because the more I want to scale, the more I have to up my bids per click to show to more of these audiences, and the more I have to up my daily budget on ads to be able to push and scale and get in front of more people. So as I scale up, my cost per lead to generate the leads goes up too.
Mm-hmm. And so if you're capturing these leads, and then as you're paying more for them than for sale on your site, I'm sure the price increases. Are you setting a base price and then people are bidding on it, or how's that work? And is your base price a function of how much you're having to pay on advertising, your cost per lead?
No, they're actually disconnected. So it's just on the platform. It's up to the users, the lead buyers, to set what they're willing to pay per lead. And so you can choose either nationwide or you can choose any specific state that you want. Now, different states have more and less lead volume than others, and I show that. So when you choose a state, you'll see what the current best bid is, and you'll also see how many leads we've had from that state in the last 30 days. So there's like Florida's the highest volume state, and that's I think it's around like 35 leads in the last 30 days or so. But then there's some smaller states where we're at like 0, like North Dakota or something. There's not much that comes through. So when a lead gets generated, who's ever the current best bid is who that lead will get sold to when one gets generated from whatever state. So if a Texas lead comes in and the best bid for Texas is $68, it'll sell to that person who's got the $68 bid. Their card gets charged $68, and then they get a text message and an email, and now it's set up CRM integration too. But yeah, they'll get that lead delivered about 10 seconds after the person hits submit on the form. And so the lead prices are just whatever people are willing to pay per lead, and it's essentially a bidding model.
I like that. Do you have any idea on the conversion rate once those leads land with people? So you have 20% from your landing page. What's it look like for those deals closing, if you have any idea?
Yeah, good question. So I have it in the system where people can mark leads as under contract, or when a deal closes, they can put in the profit that they got on the specific deal, so that in the platform, then it'll calculate for you how much you've spent on leads, how many contracts you've had, how many deals you've had, how much profit you got from those. And it'll tell you your conversion rate from lead to contract, from lead to deal, your cost per contract, your cost per deal, your return on lead spend. But almost nobody's using it is the thing. So I think most people are just doing this in their own CRM. Mm-hmm. So I would like to have better visibility over that, because I'll talk to people and they'll be like, oh yeah, I got a couple of leads under contract, and I see that they didn't mark anything in their account under contract.
Your data.
Long story long is that I don't have great visibility under it. But from some of the people that I've talked to, I would say probably around 1 in 20 on average conversion. Now, I've had people who have got their second lead under contract. I've had people who have gotten 1 out of their first 4 under contract. But it's 2 pieces, of course. There's the lead and the lead quality, and then there's the person's business and their business model. Yeah. And so if you could send the greatest leads in the world to somebody who doesn't call them quickly and who makes offers at 10% of market value, and they're probably never going to get any deals, right? On the flip side, also, another thing is that with PPC, you have much less control over targeting specifics.
Yeah.
If you got some very specific model where, say, you're wholesaling to a builder and they're like, okay, we want leads only in these zip codes, and they have to have sewer and water at the street and XYZ requirements, blah, blah, blah. If you're trying to do PPC, it's probably not going to work very well, just because you can't really do that. Google has no idea about the details of the person's land when that person's searching sell my land. So you're going to get just all sorts of land. If you got a very specific model where you need very specific criteria for land, it's probably not going to fit very well. And So a lot of those people probably aren't even going to do PPC, but then there are some people who are more in the middle where they're not super specific, but maybe they don't really like to do anything under 2 acres or something like that. Now, you're still going to get stuff under that. So one of the biggest buyers I have on the platform, he tosses a lot of the leads just because they're too small of acreage for him. So he's just not even working them if they're under a certain size. So that will lower, obviously, conversion rate on the leads as well if you're tossing a bunch of the leads because they don't fit into your buy box. So I would say you have higher motivation with these leads, but you have less control over the type of land that's coming in. If you were to be able to work every lead that came in and make it, and that you'd probably have a higher conversion rate, but there's a lot of people who aren't going to mess with stuff that's got too much wetlands or that is landlocked or has too much slope or whatever issue. And with PPC, it is a mixed bag. You're getting everything.
Yeah. That's definitely a trade-off. It's not like someone who's looking to subdivide. They're not going to come and be like, okay, I'm looking for you. They're probably not going to use the site. It's going to be someone more with a wider tool belt. They can see what comes in. They can swing deals. What's your most prolific customers look like? Are they people with big land teams, or is it people who just come in and they're swinging stuff, just a one-person operation? What's that look like?
There's both. There's definitely both. I think one of the big benefits of PPC, at least PPL. If you're doing PPC and you're running your own campaigns, that's a whole job in itself. But if you're doing PPL, you're just getting warm leads delivered to you. And so you don't need to have a big team of cold callers or texters or like a lot of the stuff that comes with the outbound methods. It has a lot of work involved to generate those leads. So a lot of people, if they're not using a service like yours or somebody else's where that's being managed for them, they have to spend a lot of time on their own to do lead gen and pulling lists and filtering their lists and hiring a VA and doing QA on their VA calls and all that stuff that it takes to do lead generation. So with PPC or PPL with this, you just say, okay, I want leads from this state. I'll pay this much. I want no more than this many leads per day. And then you just wait till a lead comes in and you call it and see if you can make a deal. So you can do it as a one-man shop. And it's, I would say, pretty good for that. But we do also have guys that have bigger teams and run more volume through too. But it depends on your budget too. So that's the other thing is right now leads are running, it depends on the state, but I think nationwide, I think right now is at $66 a lead. I think the most expensive is Colorado at like around $85 a lead, something like that. You can definitely spend some money quickly if you're buying several leads a day at that price. You can definitely spend some money. And the thing with the land business is that it can take a little while for your marketing dollars to turn into dollars in your bank account. Even if you are getting a good ROI, return on lead spend, it can take a lot of people 90 plus days for it to end up back in their bank account.
Yeah, I have this conversation with people all the time with the cold calling thing, and it's that cash conversion cycle. A lot of times when I talk about if people are brand new, it's okay, you're not quite ready for this. Come back when you've closed your first deal, sent a few thousand mailers, etc. I usually point people towards mailers because here's the thing with mailers is you can send out just 100, get a few leads, work them, be really diligent, like practice working them, and you can turn the marketing off versus something like cold calling. If we start this machine up, you are going to start getting leads and it's not turning off for 6 months. So you got to be ready to do that. But pay-per-click is almost better than the mailing as far as just barely getting kicked off or dipping your toe in the water, because you can just go buy yourself 2 leads and then work them and see what happens. Then buy 2 more and turn it off, turn it on, and get some real good practice seeing deals and getting your head around it. And then maybe the next step would be mailers. But like you're saying, it cuts out all that beginning stuff. And also for someone who's just already has a cranking business, it's just real easy. Like you don't have to spin up a whole marketing wing. Just go buy a few leads and throw them in your pipeline. And then as it grows, you can just buy more leads. So it's like a really easy way to either start or add to whatever business you already have going. Because it fits, it's similar to what I tell people with our cold calling. You don't have to do anything. You just plug a new marketing channel in and it stands alone over here. You don't have to get a bunch of prep work done because like what you have there, it's all built for you. You just start managing the leads. You don't have to manage the whole front end of the marketing. It's a really interesting thing. Is there other people building something similar to you side by side? Or are you the only one that's got?
I know that some of the house wholesaling companies are starting to dip into land leads. I'm not sure exactly what their model looks like and how they're doing that. This is all pretty recent. I sold the first lead July 15th of this year. So
Oh, congrats.
just over 4 months ago. Yeah. So this is all very recent. And when I was first starting to build this, I didn't know of anybody else doing any sort of PPL, PPC land leads. Now I'm starting to hear that there are some places that are starting to do it, but I'm not sure what their model looks like, how all that works through them.
Yeah. Interesting. You said something in the beginning of the conversation that I was interested in hearing a little bit more about. You worked as a mortgage broker, Rocket Mortgage, and then some underwriting and car loans or something like that. How's that understanding the loan business spin into your land business? And do you have any insights there as far as owner financing or loans and things like that? Because that's like a thing that people are usually interested in.
Yeah, I would say with financing, so I never really did any sort of financing route with land. I know that some people are go owner financing route and all that. So I don't know how much it actually helped me specifically in the land business. And now I kind of put my own land deals and that on the back burner. And now I'm just focused on the lead gen piece. So I'm not actively doing that now. I would say that I learned a lot from being in an organization like that about how they run their teams and sales processes and that sort of thing. But now I'm not really doing that on the land side. But I also realized I didn't really like doing that. I think I got burnt out on phone sales and doing that sort of thing, which had led me into my marketing rabbit hole where I can just hide behind the computer and generate leads.
Mhm.
So when I first started the land business, I was doing calls to sellers and all that. I realized that I wasn't really enjoying it. And I tried to outsource that to someone in the Philippines, and it did not work very well. I generated a lot of leads and they made a lot of offers and got no contracts out of it. So I don't know if it's a disconnect with the language and having, she had a minor accent and all that. And I think there's a trust factor there that isn't the same when somebody has an accent, especially when you're doing a cold reach out to somebody and they have no idea who you are and they got a cold call or a cold text from you and you're saying, hey, do you want to sell your land? And they're like, okay, make me an offer. And then they hear some foreign sounding voice making an offer and they just go, no, I'm good. Never mind. You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of trust that needs to be built there along the way somehow. And usually that ends with a professional sale. It needs to end with a professional salesperson, I think, in my opinion. You started this like running your own land business and then started pushing pay per click towards your own land business. And then you had that problem to solve. And you're like, what if I just don't solve that problem and sell these to other people? Was that like the pivot?
Yeah, kind of, except that I didn't even really run them in my own business. I had a VA doing cold calling and texting and leaving voicemails, and she was doing all lead gen. And she was doing a good job at generating people who were interested in hearing an offer. There was just a massive drop off between those people getting it and getting an offer accepted. So I was starting to look into what the house wholesaling folks were doing because it seems like the land space lags behind the house wholesaling space from what I had seen. And for the longest time, from what I had seen when I got into this, is that everything that was being taught was mailers. You know, that's how you do the land business, is you send mail. Whether maybe some people would say blind offers versus neutral letters, but pretty much the game was heavy on mailers. And then it seemed like they started to follow more in the footsteps of house wholesalers who were doing calling and texting and adding in those channels, ringless voicemails. And then I saw something with Robert Wensley from Investor Lift.
Okay. I don't know
Yeah.
him, but
Okay. So he's got a platform called Investor Lift that's like a big disposition platform for house wholesalers where they sell their deals. And I had heard something from him that a bunch of the top house wholesalers using Investor Lift were using PPC for acquisitions. So that was when I started looking into that. And I also had a background in running paid ads before the whole land space. I started looking deeper into that. And that was how I decided to start looking into that for the land space, seeing that there weren't many people in the land space doing PPC yet. And I figured that the trend would follow with the house wholesalers, that more land folks would start to get into PPC. So I started firing up some campaigns and working on building out a platform to allow people to self-serve. So you don't like, you can get leads without talking to anybody. You can go to the website, create an account, put in your credit card, say where you want leads from, how much you'll pay, and you'll start getting leads. So it's all self-serve. And so I was building out the platform at the same time to allow people to do that and go on and self-serve and get leads, and started firing up some campaigns to make sure that I could actually generate leads. And I was handing those off to some guys that are in a WhatsApp group with me, and just to make sure that I could get those leads flowing. And then I got the platform finished up and then piped the two together so that the leads are flowing onto the platform. And then mostly I've been doing Facebook and Instagram advertising to generate lead buyers, the land investors who come onto the platform to buy leads. So I got two sides where I'm bringing the land investors to the platform with Facebook and Instagram ads, and then the leads that I'm generating for those investors are from Google ads.
Yeah. Okay. That's sharp. So you've got this, you're like a serial entrepreneur, and I'm similar that way. Landed in land just over 2 years ago now. And I pivoted from running my own land business to selling shovels to the land business. A lot of times people ask me, hey, why are you not running your own land business if you can get these leads? How do you answer that? How do you think about that?
Yeah, the way that I think about it is that I don't enjoy it. So that piece is the least enjoyable part for me, and I feel like my zone of genius is more in the paid media and running ads. So I think that's where I'm most effective. Could I get a higher ROI if I were to have my own land business? Probably, if it was run well. So that's the thing. If it were run well, like with Anshul, we started working together and we got like a JV agreement going where he pays less on the front end and I get a piece on the back end. And so, yeah, I'm open to doing kind of things like that if somebody has a well run business where they do a good job of taking leads and turning them into deals. Yeah, it's something where I just don't enjoy that piece of the business, that side of the business as much. I enjoy more just doing the lead gen. And I would rather, if I am going to do something on that side, I think I'd rather just do it as a JV partnership agreement where I hand the leads to somebody and they run with them.
Yeah. I usually answer it that it's far more interesting for me to build an open-ended business where as an entrepreneur, I could pivot this into selling cars today. I could do basically and I could go into AI and I could bring in tech people to build a different tech stack. Like the amount of options and the amount of people that I get to work with and meet, and land teams. I did land and it's okay, I get it. I just buy and sell this land. I'm not saying it's not a really fun business, but I just wanted like an uncapped do as much as you possibly can entrepreneurial scenario. Like I can bring in an operations guy and a tech guy and build this really fun team and meet all kinds of land investors. There's just more there for someone with my mindset. Everyone, and then I love working with land investors because they're entrepreneurs just like me. I get to meet and work with them directly. And yeah, the ROI, yeah, I could probably make better ROI doing it just for myself, but it's just so much more gratifying. Like I could do this for 20 years, whereas I know that I would be burnt out on land investing after another couple of years. And yeah, I think you and I are similar. I have a lot of the similar background as you with a little bit of drop shipping. And yeah, my drop shipping, I invented a VR mat, just like a spatial awareness mat, got a mold in China and then would have it shipped over and then we'd sell it on Amazon. Oh my gosh, that business was a nightmare, logistics nightmare. So I'm sure with drop shipping, they're like, you're talking to people in China, showing you around their factory on like WhatsApp, and then you're trusting them to box it up and get everything right. And you're trying to like oversee production. You get these like fake reports, and then they're putting it on ships, and it's okay. It'll be there in 3 months. You have no contact, and it's going to land in some customs port like in Oakland, and it's going to get stuck there. Oh my gosh. And then you're trying to like somehow time that with your cash flow of you got to pull all this money out to get stuff shipped and then sell it, but then you don't have any money in the meantime because you're net like 180 days on it. So anyway, yeah. So these
every business model has its issues, right? There's always, you see this business and you go, man, that looks like a great business model. And then you dive into it and then you find out all the hair on it, all
Mhm.
the issues that it has, and it looks so great from the outside, or whatever guru on YouTube is pitching it to you. It sounds great, and then you dive in and you go, "Oh man, this isn't as easy as I thought." And I think that's
Yeah,
true with every business.
it is true with every business. I think that land, maybe you could tell me another couple other hairy businesses you started, but what I think what drew me to land so much was that it has less hair than a lot of business. There's still plenty of hair. Like any business is going to have it. But even just going from I flipped houses and at one point it was just full guts, knew everything. And I remember at one point I had a house that we were flipping and our value add was repairing the foundation. And so I had this house jacked up in the air and I'm looking at this thing and it was like going to be like a 80 grand profit or something. I'm looking at this thing and looking like I have a house lifted in the air right now with a team of 20 people and like all this stuff. And if this goes right, I'm going to make 80 grand. And if not, I'm maybe going to lose money. And this is so much work. This is insane. And you look at land, oh, it's a bare piece of land. I'm going to build a road in the entry. That's okay. This feels less hairy. I love this.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was like one of the things that attracted me to affiliate marketing is I
Mhm.
think that's one of the least hairy business models there is. All you do is you just drive traffic. You drive traffic to an offer or to a lead gen form or something like that. And if the person buys the product or fills out the form, you get paid. And you don't deal with customer service, you don't deal with refunds, you don't deal with logistics and shipping or any of that. That's all on the company. You just drive traffic, and if when it converts into sales or leads, you get paid. So that I think that's what draws a lot of people to affiliate is that it's all you have to do is drive traffic, and then if it converts, you get paid. But the downside to that is that anybody else can do it. These offers are available to everybody. The competition is fierce because it's very low barrier to entry. There's all you have to do is drive traffic. So then you get all these people that are ripping each other off and ripping you off and all that. And drop shipping is very similar to that. I guess a little bit more that you have to handle the fulfillment side, but I was doing it at a pretty decent scale with one virtual assistant and me, and that was it. But what came of it is once I scaled it up, people started to see it on all the ad spy tools. They could see what stuff is running at a high scale on these ad spy tools, and they just come and rip you off.
Oh,
And I actually had these two guys. I realized that there was this store ripping off what I was doing, and when I was running on Pinterest ads, and I had an ecom coach at the time, and he told me that he was getting his stuff ripped off too on Pinterest. And he dug into the company that was doing it and blah, 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 and found these two guys that actually worked at Pinterest, were running it. So they had insight, the internals of all our ad accounts, so they could see who's making money on what they're selling. And then they just came and they took my exact ads, they ripped my landing page, they undercut my price, and just I would get emails from somebody who just ordered and be like, "Oh, can you actually cancel that? I found it cheaper over here." And
yeah.
so that just squeezed out the margins until it wasn't profitable. That's the big problem with some of these things that don't have much hair on them or are low barrier to entry, is that it brings in competition that comes and just rips you off, and it's a fierce battleground for having to stay in front and innovate.
Yeah, you're like daily in a battle for your profits and your margins there, which is a crazy game. Uh, Actually, that spatial awareness mat, I invented that niche for virtual reality. And the company in China that made my molds for me, I was selling it for, I think, $79. And they basically took my mold, basically copied it. But I made the mold and then they copied it. Then they produced it like at cost. And then they were selling it for 59 and it looked just like mine. Oh my gosh. It was like, I can't believe that. The company, the same company, they were like, oh, we're already producing it. We'll just produce one of our own, sell it for cheaper. It's, oh, dude, how did I not see that coming? Yeah. So anyway, that's how you get crushed in business.
Yeah. So I've gone through a lot of that where
Mhm.
things like you get something working for a bit and then your margins just get squeezed out, and you either have to stay innovative somehow, either creating new in the paid media game, creating new ads, new ad angles, trying new traffic platforms or new products, or just pivoting your business when it gets too competitive. I know that Amazon's gotten just insanely competitive, and I
Mhm.
don't think I would ever try an Amazon business at this point.
Oh yeah, I think people probably don't realize how much they pull from you too. It's once you get it all set and done, they're like, "Oh, we need our 25% or whatever of this entire transaction." You're like, "What? Oh, my margin's 35%. You can't have 20." Oh, they just take it out automatically. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, and you have those same Chinese manufacturers that are just shipping straight into the FBA warehouses and cutting out everybody else. And how do you beat their margins?
Yeah, it's a wild game. You went to Michigan and got a master's in finance, and you got a bachelor's in finance. That's a kind of a wild background. So that should add into how you look at land investing a little bit. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I went to Michigan Tech for undergrad. Do you know Drew Haney?
Yeah, I know
Drew also went to Michigan Tech.
Oh, cool.
And
okay.
we didn't know each other while we were in school, but then we've since connected in the land space and found out that we both went to Michigan Tech. And
nice. He's a great guy.
That was cool because, yeah, Drew's awesome. But it's a small, primarily engineering school in Upper Michigan, pretty close to where I grew up. So I went there for undergrad. I did a bachelor's in finance. And then after that, I took my time, did the 5-year plan. And then after that, I didn't have anything lined up as far as like jobs or anything. To be honest, I was mostly having a fun time in college. Like I did what I needed to make sure I kept good grades and all that and remembered why I was there. But I was having fun while I was in college, and I took my sweet time leaving. And then afterwards, I didn't have anything lined up as far as jobs. I honestly wasn't putting that much effort into getting one. And I decided I would just do more school. So I applied to grad school, and I went and got a master's in finance at University of Michigan, Dearborn, their Dearborn campus. So not at Ann Arbor, but at their other campus. And then from there is when I went into the mortgages, and I thought it would be a little bit more of a financial role, and it was really more of a sales role. I think that's how a lot of things go. You think that something's going to be more analytical or more focused on numbers or something, which of course there are numbers in mortgages, but really it was a selling and production type role. But yeah, I think it's good to have that background just in general. I don't know about specifics that carry over. So much of it is like theory when you're in school and that, and then you get into the real world and everybody does things their own way. You go work for a company and 90% of what you learned in school is kind of irrelevant and not used, and every company's got their own ways of doing things in the real world. If I could go back now, I probably wouldn't do it. If I'm honest, I probably wouldn't go back and get my master's. I probably would have just gone straight into entrepreneurship and learned in the real game, and probably could have put all that tuition money into paid ads and learned more that way.
Yeah, I think for every entrepreneur, it's like you look back and you're like, oh, I should have just started playing the game way earlier. I was an economics major, and then I became a real estate agent, a realtor right after college. And so like similar, do some money stuff. Oh, I'm going to get into this. It's probably going to be money stuff. It's okay. You're a salesperson. Very similar. I get it. And I think that, yeah, looking back, it's like, oh, all that time I spent, I could have just started doing business stuff because that's what I ended up doing anyway. My economics background, though, is beautiful because on a bigger picture, I understand how money moves. So I try to tell myself that was totally worth it but I feel you. Similar journey there. What are some things that maybe we skipped through quickly that you want to hit back on, or some things that other topics you'd like to hit that we might have grazed over?
Let's see. Let's talk a little bit more on paid ads and that thing, since that's probably what people would want to.
Yeah, lead-bid.com, since that's the drive of this podcast. Let's hear more about that. What did we skip over that we should talk about?
So it's a very simple platform. It's honestly hard for me to go too deep into that because it's pretty simple. You create an account, you say where you want your leads from. If you want nationwide or a specific state, you'll see what the best bid is at. So if you want the next lead that comes in, you need to bid above that. If it's, I think nationwide right now is $66. If you want the next lead that comes in from nationwide, you bid $67. You say how many max leads you want per day. So if you say I want maximum of 1 lead per day, you won't get more than that. It resets at midnight every night. So if you were to sign up, launch your campaign, you get a lead in an hour from now, you won't get anything until the next day. And then you can turn your campaigns on or off at any time. So if you're like, hey, I don't want leads over the weekend, you can turn it off for the weekend, whatever you want. You want to get a couple leads now and then wait and get a couple more next week, you can do that. You can turn it on or off whenever you want. The leads are all from Google search right now. So people who are searching about selling their land, they click on the ad, they fill out the form, that lead gets delivered within about 10 seconds to who's ever the top bidder, text message and email. Recently added a webhook integration too, so you can have the lead sent right into your CRM. The leads are now all SMS verified. So when they go to fill out the form, they have to verify their phone number. They get like a one-time password text sent to their phone. They have to type that number into the form before they can submit it, because that was one of the issues earlier on, is that some of these leads had bad phone numbers. So added SMS verification so that we got good phone numbers now. And that's pretty much it. You can create your account and be up and running and ready to get leads in 2 minutes. It's very straightforward, very simple. As far as these leads go, I would say that the big downside of PPC is targeting. So if you have anything where you need to be specific about acreage, location, zoning, whatever, road frontage, like subdivides, that kind of stuff, it's probably not great for that, at least at this point. My goal is to add more layering and segmentation in the future. Probably next would be acres, maybe. That's another thing I can touch on, is that the acreage splits. So last I looked at the data, about a third of the leads that were coming in were less than 1 acre. About a third of them were between 1 and 5 acres, and then about a third of them were 5 acres plus. So to give an idea of the acreage of land that's coming in. If there's somebody who says, I only want 5+ acres, that's all I want, right now, probably 2/3 of the stuff you get is going to be under 5 acres. So it's either not going to be a good fit, or you just have to accept that you're going to be throwing away 2/3 of your leads. But that's something I think I would like to get to in the future, is allowing people to segment based on acreage. Now, some people ask for counties too, but there's over 3,000 counties in the US, and we got states right now. Our highest volume states are getting 20, 30 plus leads a month, in that range. In the lower volume states, where some of these are getting 2, 3, 5 leads a month, some states get no leads a month. If we were to segment by county, you would just be waiting forever to get leads in some of these places. So I don't know if that makes sense to do, just at least with the current lead volume. Maybe in the future, when we got more leads flowing through, maybe with more of that interruption-based marketing, if that ever gets added in the future. For now, the focus is Google search ads, getting the highest intent leads, probably going to fire up some new sites and focus on doing SEO to those sites to get organic search leads as well as the paid ad search leads. But still, at the end of the day, there's only so many people who are searching about selling their land every day, every month. So at some point, when this grows further, I'll probably have to look into getting other marketing channels going, whether that's YouTube ads or Facebook or TikTok or whatever it is. But then the focus will just be on how to qualify those leads through the messaging and the marketing and the form qualification to make them as high intent as possible. Some people ask if we do any sort of qualification with the leads, I guess, after the lead comes in, and the answer is no. These leads, as soon as they get generated, as soon as the person submits the form, they're getting fired off to who's ever the lead buyer. So I'm not looking at these leads. We're not looking at these leads at all before they get submitted through. So really the qualification that's done is based on the search intent, the marketing that the people see, and the form that they fill out. Targeting people who are searching specific to selling their land, having your advertising, your ads basically making it clear that, hey, this is to get a cash offer for your land, having your landing page be clear that, and in congruence with that, hey, you're filling out this form to get an offer for your land, and then having the qualifications in place in the form to make sure that you're getting all the information that you need. And forms can be a balance too, right? If you just ask for somebody for their name and phone number, you'll get more leads. You'll get more people to fill it out. If that's all you ask is just, hey, give me your name and your phone number, and you'll get more leads that way, but they're going to be lower intent. Now, on the flip side, you could run a person through 100 form field survey that where you're going to lose 99% of people along the way, but at the end of the form, of course, they'd be very qualified. So it's about finding that balance.
And what are you asking for now? Name, email, phone number, verified SMS?
So right now they're being asked for an address, property address, which, as not all land has an address, an assigned address. Yeah. So people have to fill in something for address. So sometimes if it has an address, the street address, they'll put that. Otherwise, they may just put the road that it's on, or they may put the APN number if they know it offhand. And some people will just write not assigned. So they have to put something in for address. And then they have to type in the county. They need to select the state, and then they type in the acreage. So they're
Okay.
doing property address, county, state, acres, and then they're doing their name on title if it's different. So if it's under a spouse's name in an LLC, in a trust or something like that, they can put that information in if the ownership on title is different than their name, and then their phone number and email, and then the phone number gets SMS verified before they can submit the form. So that's
Okay.
the other thing with these is not everybody's going to know. So some people have asked, hey, could you put a field on there asking for APN? And the thing is, I could put that, but it would tank the response rate because 99% of the people who are going and search and sell my land don't know the APN off the top of their head.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know the street. They're like, it's in this county up this, it's on this mountain over here. It's okay. Yeah. So that's probably like a tough sticking point for you is how do you ask for that as much address information as possible without making them bounce because that's a question mark. I don't know the address. I'll go somewhere else. Boom.
Yeah. So they have to put something in for the address, but yeah, some people will just put the road or some people will just write not assigned.
Do you
But I'm
write
sure
that
that
whatever? Like,
what's that?
how do you ask that question? You just have address, or do you write out the
I
address?
have I have address and then I have in parentheses if assigned. So
Okay.
some people will write not assigned. Some people will just put the road. Some people will put the address because of that. And because a lot of land doesn't have an assigned address and the people aren't going to know the APN off the top of their head when they're coming to fill out this form. That's why I added the owner name on title field so that you could search somebody up on the county records by name, because as well as searching by APN in the county GIS systems or in land ID or whatever, you can search by the name. So as long as you have the name that's on title, you should be able to locate the property if you have the state, the county, and the name on title. So for the folks that are filling it out that's in a spouse's name or an LLC or trust or whatever, they can fill that in so that you can still try to locate that property with that information.
Do you do that verification? You just look up county person on title and verify it, or a lead could come in. It could just possibly be a different person on title. Like you verify, you can find the property.
No,
Okay.
so there's no sort of verification done as to, I don't even know how that would be done. I guess.
Yeah, it's too hard. I get it.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do that, how you would
Yeah.
match that in real time.
Yeah, just because that's something we deal with too. It'll come in and we'll ask, and we send it through a person who physically searches the county records, but that becomes a nightmare for sure. Get you. So there's two questions I have. One is like the idea of getting in early. Since it's been going and it's up and running, but you don't have a ton of marketing out there, it must be a decent time to get in and get some leads that are reasonable, like that kind of get in early before a bunch of people know about it feeling. Do you think that it's hit an equilibrium where the price per lead is where it's going to be? Or how much do you think the price per lead might push up as more people come in? Where do you see that landing? Let's say it's at $65 right now or $68 right now.
So since I've started, the average cost per lead has gone up a few bucks per month from what I've seen. So each month when I run the numbers and look at all the leads that got sold over that month and average them out, it's been going up about $3 a month or so on average. It's like the supply and demand game. So I don't want the leads to get out of control expensive where people come on and they're like, this is just out of my price range. I want leads to stay at a price that where everybody wins, where I need a spread. I need to be able to make a profit on these leads. So the cost that it costs me to generate a lead with paid ads, I need them to sell for more than that so that I can keep doing this and stay in business. But then, of course, I want people to be able to buy these leads and get a positive return on them and they make money on them. And so it's this balancing supply and demand game on the platform where people come in and they put bids on and they want leads. And then I need to be able to supply these leads. Now, some of it is hard to control with certain states. Some states just get more leads than others. And if there's a bunch of people who want Colorado leads and we don't get really many Colorado leads, then the lead prices probably will get bid up and pushed up on that when there's not the volume to fill the demand. But it's hard to say. What I can say is that so far the lead prices have been slowly and steadily rising month over month. But that's the game I'm playing, is how do I keep raising both sides, bring more people onto the platform and then fill that demand that they bring. So I've got, like I said, I got the Facebook and Instagram ads. Those are the main ways I'm bringing in new people, new land investors onto the platform. And then I'm running the Google ads. But the Google ads can be a little finicky. I try to push up the scale, and sometimes my cost per lead jumps up, but the lead volume doesn't jump up so much.
Mhm.
So I just end up paying more per lead, and I just squeeze out my margins, and I don't actually get more leads out of it. And especially as I've been working on trying to improve the lead quality, adding the SMS verification, that lowers the submission rate. So
Yeah.
by doing that, now less people are submitting the form because I did that. Adding clear language about saying, hey, we're not looking to buy houses. We're not looking for houses. Because that was another thing. There were some that were coming through with houses on them. Guys are saying, hey, I don't want houses. So I'm like, okay, how can I make more clear language about people not submitting this if it's a house? So
Yeah.
as I try to improve the quality of the leads that are coming through, my throughput on the funnel goes down and my cost per lead goes up. So it's adjustments.
Not as simple as more people coming on the website, price go up, because you've got your market dynamic with the amount that you pay for advertising. Then you've got the supply of the amount of leads you add to the site. Then you've got the demand of the amount of people who come onto the site, balancing all those together and gamifying all of it at the same time. That sounds like a blockchain project, dude. To be honest, I say that because I know that you have a little background in blockchain. I was actually part of launching EOS. I had a company called EOS San Francisco, and that blockchain that launched, when we launched it, it became the second biggest blockchain in the world. It was pretty crazy how it took off. Yeah, but EOS was a really crazy project. But in that whole world, it's all about economics and incentives and all the things you're talking about. Just like that makes my brain start firing. So have you considered a little dynamic maybe where you have an instant buy type thing where it's like, hey, you can get this lead right now for $99 or something and take it off the bidding market?
So there are no leads that are sitting around.
Oh, they don't.
As soon as they get generated, they're getting sold.
Oh,
So if you're familiar with order books in the stock market or something like that,
oh yeah.
there's these bid orders. So I've got all these orders on the lead bid platform where people are saying, okay, in Texas, I'll pay this much per lead. In this market, I'll pay this much per lead. Nationwide, I'll pay this much per lead. So when a lead gets generated from those Google ads and it gets sent in, as soon as it comes into the platform, it's identifying the highest bid and selling to that person for that amount. So there's no leads that are just like sitting around waiting for buyers. They get sold as soon as they get generated.
And what was that thing you were talking about? It resets at midnight. So leads go like everything resets at midnight unless you say hold this bid or type thing, or what was that part?
So that's for your campaign, for how many leads you want per day in your campaign.
Oh, got
So that's to throttle your budget and your spending. So
Mhm.
if you're like, hey, I don't want to spend more than 65 bucks a day on leads or whatever, you could say, oh, that's okay, that's one lead per day. And then if you're the top bid when a lead comes in, you'll get that lead for whatever your bid amount is, and you'll get charged for that amount. But then if you only want one lead per day, you won't be in the auction essentially for the next lead that comes in that day. You're out of the auction until midnight is when you'd come back online, and you're eligible now for another lead for the next day and each day. So for however many leads you want per day maximum, that resets at midnight each night, and you won't get more leads than that per day.
Oh, and you're running a really fun project here. I bet people would be surprised to know just how much thought and planning and strategic things it takes to build like the incentives that you've built in here. And you're probably thinking about, you probably wake up at night thinking about that stuff. You're like, oh yeah. So that's killer. That's really killer. What else have we glossed over here that as far as lead bid goes and maybe the game theory around it or like how leads are delivered or anything like that? What if we glossed over anything that you want to go back and dig a little bit more into?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple model. A lot of it is modeled after how Google Ads works. When I'm trying to generate these leads, I'm on Google and I'm bidding for clicks. So I'm bidding against other people for how much I'm willing to pay for a click on my ad. And then if I want more clicks, I need to bid higher than other people and have a higher budget. And so then if I do that, I'll get more clicks than the other guys that I'm competing against. And then it's a numbers game from there. I'm going to get all these clicks, and then some percent of those are going to turn into leads for me. And it's just that for the land investors on lead bid, where they're saying, okay, I'm willing to pay this much per lead. I've got this much. I want this many leads per day, which is your daily budget. And then if you want more leads, you're going to have to be at the top of the bidding and have a higher budget. And then you'll get those leads. And then some percent of those leads are going to turn into contracts and deals. So it's the same thing. What I'm doing on the Google Ads platform is it's just taking a step down the funnel, where I'm taking eyeballs and turning them into clicks and turning clicks into leads. I'm passing those leads to people on the lead bid platform, and they're taking those leads and turning them into contracts and deals.
Yeah, that's killer. I have a friend I'm going to send this to today, right after we get off this podcast. So I'm excited. I'm going to be like, I found something for you. Check this out. So that's killer, Mike. Great stuff. Your website is lead-bid.com. Is that right?
Yeah, there's a hyphen in there, a dash,
Okay,
lead-bid.com.
And then are there other places people can find you online besides your website?
Facebook, you can look up Mike Harri on Facebook. That's about the only social media I really do.
Okay, cool. And the last question I generally ask, two questions. One would be if you could post one message onto Land Twitter and then one message onto Twitter for everyone to see, what would those messages be if everyone was going to read it?
Land Twitter and general Twitter, was that it?
Yep. Two messages. One to all the land people and basically billboard to everyone in the world.
Follow up with your leads. There's for the land folks.
Yep.
Call your leads quickly and follow up. And for everyone, I would say, oh man, I feel like I'm qualified to give life advice.
That's it. None of us are qualified to give life advice. That's
Be careful who you listen to. That's my advice.
Yeah, that's great. Good call. Mike, you're a legend, man. It was great to meet you in Texas. Killer to have you on the show. And maybe we'll meet up in 3 months, 6 months or so, do another show and see where Lead Bid is at. And in the meantime, everyone go try it out because it looks awesome. So thanks for coming on, Mike. Good to talk to you.
Appreciate you, Brandon. Great to see you again.
Yeah.
The Legends of Land Show.